With immense joy and a deep sense of gratitude to God, we the sisters of St. Cecily's have stepped on the portals of a centenary. God's wonderful blessings indeed. The first step taken on 18th May 1918 is going to complete 100 miles on 18th May 2018. Our pioneers have walked the tedious journey, and those who allowed it climbed the steep mountains and crossed the deep rivers by placing their trust in God's providence. The clergy, the people of the parish, the neighborhood, and the society has rendered a great support in the growth of infant Cecily. Our memory goes back to the year 1918 when the tiny seed of St. Cecily was planted in the blessed soil of Udupi.
The town of Udupi, also known as the Varanasi of South India, was a place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. As long back as 1918, the women who had been educated in the caste girls' school at Dongarekeri, Mangalore, run by the Sisters of the Apostolic Carmel, were well placed in the influential homes as wives of Hindu pleaders and doctors. They had a deep appreciation of the educational work done by the AC sisters at Mangalore and insisted on having convent education for their daughters at Udupi too. At the same time, a very enthusiastic Catholic gentleman, Mr. Piyadat Alva, landlord and merchant, the father of Mr. Joachim Alva, an MP of the independent India, also wanted convent education for the Catholic girls of the place. Having communicated their ideas, they drew up a large pressing petition signed by more than 70 influential signatories, irrespective of caste or creed, requesting to open a secondary grade school at Udupi, and forwarded the letter to the then Superior General of the Apostolic Carmel, Mother Eloisia. Mother Eloisia, accepting it to be a worthy project for a good cause, sought the audience with the Bishop of Mangalore, Reverend Paul Perini S.J., who was also thinking of requesting her to open a school at Kalyanpur, one of the suburbs of Udupi. After some discussion, His Lordship preferred Udupi to Kalyanpur, and thus the Apostolic Carmel would take charge of education in Udupi, braving all the difficulties and challenges. Mother Eloisia, along with Sister Agnes the Superior and other 4 sisters, a servant girl and a carpenter Julian, set out to Udupi on 18 May 1918. That year, monsoon had burst forth very early, and the weather was very bad and stormy. In spite of bad weather, they engaged a horse carriage for their journey to Udupi. The poorly fed ponies, instead of reaching the destination at 6 p.m., reached at 6:30 p.m. to a place which was still 4 miles far away from Udupi and with the river to cross over. The weather was very threatening and darkness was rapidly overtaking them. The boatmen refused to ferry them, who were drenched to the core. At last, one of the 2 gentlemen who passed by helped them to cross the river. Finding nothing on the shore except darkness all over, they decided to walk the journey 2 by 2, while a Catholic tailor with a lantern, who was returning to his home at Udyavar, consenting to retrace his steps to lead them to the Udupi church. In spite of his lonely mother awaiting him 6 miles away from Udupi, he trudged 16 miles in the rain with the sisters. His Christian charity is to be deeply appreciated. Thus, the sisters reached their first residence in Kadbetu, which was known as Kadbet Bungalow, and were received warmly by Mr. and Mrs. Alva. On 20th May 1918, the school started with 9 children on roll with the first 3 classes, and English was the medium of instruction.
Every day, the sisters walked up to the parish in rain and storms for their daily celebration of the Eucharist. The apostolate of the sisters was mainly among the Catholics of the parish. Though the space at the Kadbet Bungalow was limited, the sisters taught catechism and prepared children for First Holy Communion. From the very inception of the school, sisters started the boarding house due to the request from the Catholic agriculturists living in the villages around the suburbs of Udupi. In 1921, the recognition of the elementary and middle school was granted, along with the building grant, through the instrumentality of Mr. Piadet Alva and others, who sent a memorandum to Governor of Madras. The Bishop of Mangalore, Reverend Paul Pereni S.J., donated 5 acres of land near Kadbet Road as a gift deed to the Apostolic Carmel for a convent, school, and for any other purpose. Hence, the sisters received the ownership of the entire plot of Kadbet Road in 1920. The foundation stone for the convent in the present plot was laid in September 1925. Father Casimir Menezes, with the help of the contractor, undertook the construction of the convent and school. Mr. Sebastian Andrade supervised the construction for a nominal fee. The missionary fathers of the surrounding parishes rendered willing service to the convent. The inauguration of the new convent building was on 26th May 1926, and it was blessed by Father Lyons, the Vicar with other priests celebrating the High Mass. Thus, after waiting for 8 long years, the sisters had at last the comforting presence of Jesus in their own chapel. The daily Mass in the convent chapel was celebrated by Father F. Pereira beginning from October 1926.
There was an innate fear in some sending their daughters to the convent school. This fear was driven away by a famous advocate, Vittal Kamath, in a public function, who spoke about the worth of a convent school. Thereafter, admissions increased rapidly. In 1931, under the able stewardship of Sister Eugenie, 4th form started to introduce the high school course. With that, the dream of upgrading the school materialized, and from then onwards, St. Cecily's High School grew from strength to strength. In 1936 July, permanent recognition was accorded to the high school. In 1947, awakened by zeal for the national language and literature, the school adopted Kannada as the medium of instruction, and Hindi as the optional language. There are 2 higher primary schools, one in the English medium and the other in Kannada medium. In the high school, Kannada and English medium run parallel. In the year 2001, the Apostolic Carmel, Karnataka province, was offered the proposal to upgrade the high school into composite PU college. Subsequently, St. Cecily's was upgraded with the science, arts and commerce streams. The formal inauguration of PU College took place on 5th July 2003. St. Cecily's continues to be regarded as everyone's institution and an institution for all. Though the school faces many challenges, the inward spirit built up between the management and the public, the spirit of devotion and loyalty among the staff, and the simplicity of life among the children from KG to the PUC are a great asset for building up a spirit of solidarity and upward growth. Thus, St. Cecily's has progressed from the past 100 years since its difficult beginnings and has contributed a great deal in raising the status of women of all classes and religious by its excellent all-round education. It continues to remain as a source of inspiration, strength and support to all who enter the portals of St. Cecily's.